Hello, it's Willie from the Ozarks, and we're ready for our lesson 228 in A Course in Miracles workbook for students. August the 16th. We're reading out of the original edition. God has condemned me not, no more do I. God has condemned me not, no more do I. My Father knows my holiness. Shall I deny his knowledge and believe in what his knowledge makes impossible? Shall I accept as true what he proclaims as false? Or shall I take his word for what I am, since he is my creator and the one who knows the true condition of his Son? And the prayer, Father, I was mistaken in myself because I failed to realize the source from which I came. I have not left that source to enter in a body and to die. My holiness remains a part of me, as I am part of you. And my mistakes about myself are dreams. My mistakes about myself are dreams. I let them go today, and I stand ready to receive your word alone for what I really am. God has condemned me not, no more do I. I'm sitting here in front of the roaring river, up close to the spring, and I'm sitting in front of a box elder tree. Let's take a look at our reading in the text. We're ready for paragraph 11. I think we'll take a run and start with paragraph 10 in chapter 4, The Root of All Evil. And while you're turning there, if you'd like to follow along, let me tell you a little bit about the box elder. It's related to all the maples. It's an Acer Negundo, and you can make syrup out of it. Now it takes more volume of extracted nectar, or of the sap, in order to cook down, because it didn't have as much sugar content. But you can make maple syrup out of a box elder. As a carpenter and doing woodworking, lots of times you'll get box elder that'll have red streaks in it, and they call that blood elder. And it's, a lot of people really like working with it. It's beautiful, just real red wood, just interspersed throughout the white. Native Americans used it in the past. The Cheyenne use it, and have used it for probably centuries, as an incense for spiritual medicine in the what do they call it? The Sundance. Also the Ojibwa, and let's see, there's another tribe that used it for an emetic. The Ojibwa and the Maskawaki, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing it properly. An emetic, it helps you to vomit if you need to. Anyway, there's probably all kinds of. It also is very good for a wildlife food. This is kind of a small tree. This one I'm in front of. I mean, it'll grow as a little bush, but it'll become a great big lumber tree. I've got a little branch here. Let me show it to you. When I first saw it, I thought it was poison ivy, because it has kind of a little reddish tint to the stem, and it had on the leading edge, it had leaves of 3. This one's fairly eaten by insects, but you can see there's 3. But they're if you look at it, they're not all like that. So that's a whole leaf there, rather than just the leaf of 3 little blades. So it's there's your box elder, the Acer, what I call it, Negundo. All right. Okay. Hopefully you've turned now to here. I was already turned there, and I lost my page. So let me find it again. On chapter 4, we are reading paragraph 11. And as you can see, the roaring river, a little waterfall behind me. It's kind of a pretty setting. If you're willing to, okay, I said we'd back up to paragraph 10 though. Teaching and learning are your greatest strengths now, because you must change your mind and help others change theirs. It is pointless to refuse to tolerate change because you believe you can demonstrate that by doing so, the separation has not occurred. You might read that sentence a few times to really get it to come into focus. It is pointless to refuse to tolerate change because you believe you can demonstrate that by doing so, the separation has not occurred. The dreamer who doubts the reality of his dream while he is still dreaming is not really healing the level split. You have dreamed of a separated ego, and you have believed in a world which rests upon it. This is very real to you. You cannot do this by doing nothing and not changing. Paragraph 11. If you're willing to renounce the role of guardian or guardians of your thought system or systems and open them to me, I will correct them very gently and lead you home. If you're willing to renounce the role of guardian of your thought systems and open them to me, I will correct them very gently and lead you home. Well, that's something we want. We want to be gently led home from our thought systems that have kept us locked and imprisoned in the idea of separation, which is not real. Every good teacher hopes to give his students so much of his own thinking that they will one day no longer need him. Let's get that one again. Every good teacher hopes to give his students so much of his own thinking that they will one day no longer need him. This is the one real goal of the parent, teacher, and therapist. This goal will not be achieved by those who believe that they will lose their child or pupil or patient if they succeed. It is impossible to convince the ego of this because it goes against all of its own laws. But remember that laws are set up to protect the continuity of the system in which the lawmaker believes. 12. It is natural enough for the ego to try to protect itself once you have made it, but it is not natural for you to want to obey its laws unless you believe in them. The ego cannot make this choice because of the nature of its origin. You can because of the nature of yours. Egos can clash in any situation, but souls cannot clash at all. If you perceive a teacher as merely a larger ego, you will be afraid because to enlarge an ego is to increase separation anxiety. I will teach with you and live with you if you will think with me. But my goal will always be to absolve you finally from the need for a teacher. Isn't that beautiful? Jesus telling us, I will teach you, I will teach with you and live with you if you will think with me. But my goal will always be to absolve you finally from the need for a teacher. Wow, this is beautiful, isn't it? 13. This is the opposite of the ego-oriented teacher's goal. He is concerned with the effect of his ego on other egos and therefore interprets their interaction as a means of ego preservation. I would not be able to devote myself to teaching if I believed this, and you will not be a devoted teacher as long as you maintain it. I am constantly being perceived as a teacher, either to be exalted or rejected. But I do not accept either perception for myself. 14. Your worth is not established by your teaching or your learning. Your worth was established by God. As long as you dispute this, everything you do will be fearful, particularly any situation that lends itself to the superiority, inferiority fallacy. Teachers must be patient. Teachers must be patient and repeat their lessons until they are learned. I'm willing to do this because I have no right to set your learning limits for you. Once again, nothing you do or think or wish or make is necessary to establish your worth. Once again, nothing you do or think or wish or make is necessary to establish your worth. This point is not debatable, except in delusions. It's not debatable, except in delusions. We can debate all we want in delusion. Your ego is never at stake because God did not create it. Your soul is never at stake because He did. Any confusion on this point is a delusion, and no form of devotion is possible as long as this delusion lasts. The ego tries to exploit all situations into forms of praise for itself in order to overcome doubt. Overcome doubts. It will be fearful, however. It will be doubtful forever, and rather as long as you believe in it. Let's read that one again. The ego tries to exploit all situations into forms of praise for itself in order to overcome its doubts. It will be doubtful forever, or rather as long as you believe in it. You who made it cannot trust it because you know it is not real. The only sane solution is not to try to change reality, which is indeed a fearful attempt, but to see it as it is. The only sane solution is not to try to change reality, which is indeed a fearful attempt, but to see it as it is. You are part of reality, which stands unchanged beyond the reach of your ego, but within easy reach of your soul. When you are afraid, be still and know that God is real, and you are His beloved Son in whom He is well pleased. Let's read that one again. Make sure you take that one with you. We'll take it all with you, but we don't take so much, can we? When you are afraid, be still and know that God is real, and you are His beloved son or daughter or child in whom He is well pleased. Can you do that? Do not let your ego dispute this, because the ego cannot know what it is as far beyond its reach as you are. And let us stop there, and we'll pick that up tomorrow. We'll be ready for 16. Okay, now let's go take a look at our lesson again. 228. God has condemned me not, no more do I. And before we read it, let us go back to the, I think of it as a chapter heading, What is Forgiveness? A few lessons back, lesson 2, right before lesson 221. And let's read that. And we'll read that for 10 days. And then after that, we'll have another chapter or another consciousness raising or affirming set of concepts that will help you to stabilize your new wings that you're learning to fly with as being a miracle worker, as learning to practice forgiveness and see the beauty of God's creation in everyone all the time. What is forgiveness? Forgiveness recognizes what you thought your brother did to you has not occurred. It does not pardon sins and make them real. It sees there was no sin, and in this view are all your sins forgiven. What is sin except a false idea about God's Son? Forgiveness merely sees its falsity, and therefore lets it go. What then is free to take its place is now the will of God. An unforgiving thought is one which makes a judgment that it will not raise to doubt, although it is not true. The mind is closed and will not be released. The thought protects projection, tightening its chains so that distortions are more veiled and more obscure, less easily accessible to doubt, and further kept from reason. What can come between a fixed projection and the aim that it has chosen as its needed goal? An unforgiving thought does many things. In frantic action, it pursues its goal, twisting and overturning what it sees as interfering with its chosen path. Distortion is its purpose, and the means by which it would accomplish it as well. It sets about its furious attempts to smash reality without concern for anything that would appear to pose a contradiction to its point of view. Forgiveness, on the other hand, is still and quietly does nothing. It offends no aspect of reality, nor seeks to twist it to appearances it likes. It merely looks and waits and judges not. He who would not forgive must judge, for he must justify his failure to forgive. But he who would forgive himself must learn to welcome truth exactly as it is. Do nothing then, and let forgiveness show you what to do. Through him who is your guide, your Savior and defender, strong in hope and certain of your ultimate success, he has forgiven you already, for such is his function given him by God. Now must you share his function and forgive whom he has saved, whose sinlessness he sees, and whom he honors as the Son of God. Okay. Before we read this last reading of our lesson today, God has condemned me not, no more do I. Let's take one look up. I'm going to see if I can just let you take a look at this tree. Can we go up with it? It's not a real big one, but it's a nice looking tree. Okay, and then you kind of get a little listen too. Listen to the roaring river. God has condemned me not, no more do I. My Father knows my holiness. Shall I deny his knowledge and believe in what his knowledge makes impossible? Shall I accept as true what he proclaims as false? Or shall I take his word for what I am, since he is my Creator and the one who knows the true condition of his Son? And the prayer. Father, I was mistaken in myself because I failed to realize the source from which I came. I have not left that source to enter in a body and to die. My holiness remains a part of me, as I am part of you. And my mistakes about myself are dreams. I let them go today, and I stand ready to receive your word alone for what I really am. God has condemned me not, no more do I.